Commander Lyra walked through the vast halls of Virelia's Grand Council chamber, her steps echoing against the polished floors. The chamber was alive with beings from countless worlds, each of them proud of their civilizations, their fleets, and their histories. She moved with confidence, her long robes flowing behind her, her eyes scanning the delegates as if measuring them for their worth. Lyra had always been fascinated by stories of warriors, heroes, and legendary battles. But she did not believe in myths, especially those about humans. For centuries, alien scholars had whispered tales of human warriors who could defeat fleets alone, who faced overwhelming odds and survived. To Lyra, these stories sounded like fairy tales, exaggerated to make humans seem more important than they were. "They say humans fought entire armies with nothing but their courage," she said aloud to her assistant, a small insectoid creature named Vecca. "Do they really think such stories are real? A single human taking on a fleet? Preposterous." Vecca chirped softly, its multiple eyes blinking in agreement. "Perhaps, Commander, the stories are exaggerated. But the Council says humans are arriving soon. You may witness it yourself." Lyra laughed, a clear, confident sound that turned heads. "Witness it? I will see a tiny human shivering before our Council. Then I will have proof that legends are lies." The Council chamber was preparing for a major diplomatic gathering. Delegates from dozens of star systems had come together to discuss trade, defense, and alliances. Humans, as usual, were considered minor participants. Their civilization was young, their fleet small, and their technology, while innovative, was nothing compared to the largest galactic powers. Still, there was curiosity. Whispers filled the air as the Council prepared for the arrival of the human ambassador. "They say he is a warrior," one diplomat murmured. "A captain of great skill." Lyra rolled her eyes. "A warrior? More likely a soldier with luck. Let us see how much luck he has when he faces true skill." Hours passed as the delegates took their seats. Lyra found a vantage point high above the chamber, her sharp eyes scanning every entrance. When the doors finally opened, she expected to see a nervous, small human, clutching documents and trembling under the gaze of thousands of alien eyes. Instead, the human stepped through with a calm, steady stride. His armor was simple, not flashy, but it seemed to carry a quiet authority. His eyes scanned the room with an intensity that made Lyra pause. There was no fear, no hesitation, only focus and presence. Lyra raised an eyebrow. "Interesting," she whispered. "He walks as if he belongs here, though he is smaller than any of our soldiers." The human's name was Captain Rylan. He carried no weapons openly, but his posture suggested he was ready for anything. His steps were measured, his attention unwavering. As he greeted the Council, his voice was steady and clear, polite but confident. Lyra watched him with growing curiosity. He answered questions quickly, giving precise information about human fleets and technologies, but what caught her attention most was how he handled a minor misunderstanding between two alien delegates. While others argued loudly, Rylan remained calm. With a few carefully chosen words, he resolved the issue without raising his voice. Vecca, perched on Lyra's shoulder, chirped softly. "Commander, he seems capable." Lyra shook her head. "Capable, yes. But a legend? We shall see." The first part of the Council passed without incident, but Lyra could not shake the feeling that the human was different from anything she had seen before. He moved through the room with a quiet authority that commanded respect without demanding it. She found herself studying him, noting the strength in his posture, the clarity in his eyes, and the sharpness of his mind. During a break in the proceedings, Lyra overheard another diplomat whispering about the human's past missions. "They say he once faced an enemy fleet alone and survived," the diplomat said. "No human has ever done that," Lyra snorted quietly. "Survived? Perhaps they exaggerate. A human surviving an entire fleet alone is impossible. The stories are old, filled with pride and perhaps a little fear." Yet even as she spoke, a small part of her mind wondered what it would be like to see such a thing. What would a human look like when facing impossible odds? Could there be truth hidden in the legend? She shook her head, dismissing the thought. She could not allow herself to believe in myths. Later, the Council convened in a larger hall to discuss interstellar trade routes. Rylan moved among the delegates, listening, observing, and occasionally offering advice. Lyra noticed how others reacted to him. Even powerful alien leaders paused, considering his words seriously. He did not command them with threats or intimidation. He commanded them with intelligence, with clarity, and with presence. Lyra found herself growing impatient. "All this observation," she muttered. "We need action. We need to see if this human truly matches the stories." As if on cue, a small emergency alert rang throughout the council hall. A minor freighter had been attacked near the outer rim by pirates. Though it was a small incident, the council prepared for the worst. Many delegates were panicked, unsure how to respond. Ryland stepped forward. Calmly, he outlined a plan to protect the freighter and capture the pirates. His strategy relied not on overwhelming force, but on intelligence, timing, and adaptability. The council listened, and one by one they nodded in agreement. Lyra's eyes narrowed. Clever. Too clever for a simple human soldier. Perhaps there is more to him than the stories suggest. When the emergency situation resolved without casualties, Lyra felt a strange mixture of relief and unease. The human had acted decisively, skillfully, and without hesitation. He had proven competence, but could he prove the truth of the legend? As the council ended for the day, Lyra found herself walking beside Ryland, though she did not acknowledge it. She observed quietly, noting how he interacted with staff, how he gave encouragement without arrogance, how he seemed to understand more than anyone else in the room. Ryland caught her glance and nodded politely, a gesture of acknowledgement rather than challenge. Lyra felt a strange reaction she had never experienced before. It was not fear. It was curiosity mixed with caution. She knew one thing for certain. This human was unlike any she had seen. The legend she had laughed at so freely now seemed less impossible. And for the first time in her life, she wondered if humans were capable of greatness far beyond what anyone believed. As she retired to her chambers that evening, Lyra's mind was restless. She replayed every detail of Ryland's movements, his decisions, his calm demeanor. She remembered the clarity in his eyes and the quiet confidence in his voice. For the first time, she questioned her assumptions. Could it be true? Could a human warrior actually face overwhelming odds and survive? Could humans, small and underestimated, hold power far greater than any other species in the galaxy? Lyra shook her head, trying to dismiss the thought. She had always believed that intelligence, strategy, and courage were important, but she had never believed that a single human could embody all three to the point of legend. Yet a small voice inside her whispered, "What if the stories are true?" That night she could not sleep. She thought of the human's calm presence, of his precision, of the quiet authority he carried without force. The legend she had mocked now hovered on the edge of possibility. She knew that tomorrow she would have to see more. She would have to test the truth for herself. And deep down she felt a thrill, a mixture of fear, excitement, and anticipation. The arrival of a human warrior had changed everything. The stories she had laughed at were no longer distant myths. They were a challenge, a question, and perhaps the beginning of a new understanding of humanity's place in the galaxy. Lyra's laughter from earlier in the day now seemed distant, replaced by focus and determination. Tomorrow, she would see what a human was truly capable of, and for the first time she wondered if she might witness a legend come to life. The sun of Veralia had not yet fully risen when the orbital spaceport came alive with activity. Ships of all shapes and sizes floated against the pale blue sky of the planet, some docking carefully while others prepared for departures. Delegates, soldiers, and traders moved along the wide corridors, their conversations echoing through the massive terminal. Lyra arrived early, her eyes sharp and alert. Today, the human ambassador, Captain Ryland, would arrive at the port. She was determined to see this human for herself, to finally witness whether the stories of legendary human warriors were true or nothing more than myths. She watched the docking bay with a mixture of anticipation and skepticism. Veralia had handled delegations from countless species, but there was an unusual tension in the air. Whispers had spread about Ryland's arrival. Even among her fellow council members there was curiosity and, for some, a hint of apprehension. Vecca, her small assistant, fluttered beside her. "Commander, he should be arriving soon." "Are you ready?" Lyra's eyes narrowed. "Ready? I'm always ready. I only hope this human is as ordinary as he claims. I will expose any exaggeration. Mark my words." A deep hum filled the spaceport as a sleek, streamlined human ship entered the docking corridor. It was small compared to the massive trade cruisers and warships surrounding it, but it moved with confidence and precision. There was no unnecessary flash, no loud signals, only the smooth, deliberate glide of a vessel designed for efficiency and control. Lyra's interest piqued. She had expected something clumsy or hesitant. Instead, the ship's movements were perfect, almost like an extension of the pilot's mind. She leaned closer to the observation window, scanning every detail. As the docking clamps engaged, the ship's hatch slowly opened. A single human stepped out. Captain Rylan was taller than many humans she had heard about, with a lean but strong build. His armor was simple and functional, with only the insignia of his fleet marking his rank. He moved with a calm confidence, his head held high, and his eyes scanning the busy port as if assessing every detail. Lyra's first instinct was disbelief. He did not move like a nervous minor species delegate. There was no hesitation in his steps. Each motion was deliberate, precise, and purposeful. Vecca chirped softly. "Commander, he is impressive." Lyra shook her head. "Do not be distracted. He may appear capable, but we shall see if his reputation matches reality." Rylan approached the transport area, where Varelian officers waited to escort him to the council chamber. He greeted each of them with calm courtesy, shaking hands, nodding slightly, and offering brief, respectful remarks. None of the officers could hide their surprise at his demeanor. Even small interactions carried weight. He seemed to command respect without demanding it. Lyra observed from above, noting every detail. She could not deny that he was skilled in manners and presence, but could he truly live up to the legends? The escort led Rylan through the bustling corridors, and Lyra noticed how he moved carefully yet confidently. He did not rush or stumble through the crowd. When a small child from another delegation bumped into him, he bent down, smiled briefly, and offered a reassuring nod before continuing without hesitation. Lyra frowned. She had expected arrogance, perhaps fear, maybe even clumsiness, but there was none of that. Finally, they reached the council chamber. The hall was enormous, with high ceilings and floating platforms where delegates could speak. The humans were assigned a small but respectful area, yet as Rylan stepped forward, there was a subtle change in the atmosphere. Eyes shifted toward him. Murmurs rose and fell. Even some of the most confident delegates seemed to pause, measuring him. Lyra narrowed her eyes. "This is only the beginning," she muttered. "Let us see if he can perform beyond the politeness of a newcomer." The council session began. Discussions were planned around interstellar trade agreements, defense pacts, and technology exchanges. Rylan listened first, speaking only when necessary, yet his words carried clarity and insight. Unlike many diplomats who tried to impress with long speeches, he was brief but precise. Each statement he made addressed the concern directly, leaving little room for confusion or debate. Lyra was forced to admit silently that his intelligence was impressive. Still, she reminded herself that clever words alone did not make a legend. As the council continued, a minor incident occurred. Two delegates from rival systems began to argue over trade rights, their voices rising sharply. Lyra expected chaos to ensue. Many ambassadors would have shouted louder, trying to assert dominance, or ignored the problem entirely. Rylan, however, remained calm. He approached them with a careful tone, addressing both parties with respect and neutrality. Slowly, he guided the argument toward a solution that satisfied both sides, without compromising any rules. Within minutes, the tension dissolved. The arguing delegates looked at each other, then at Rylan, their surprise evident. Lyra could not hide her reaction. She muttered under her breath, "Incredible." Yet still, a single incident is not a legend. But she could not deny that the human had skill. Skill that went beyond physical ability. Skill in reading situations, understanding opponents, and acting with precision. He did not boast. He did not demand attention. Yet he drew it naturally, and others responded to him without resistance. Later, during a break, Lyra observed Rylan walking through the council hall alone. Delegates approached him, asking questions about humans, their fleets, and their tactics. Each time he responded clearly and thoughtfully, offering suggestions without arrogance. Vecca tilted its head. "Commander, he seems different. Not like any species we have seen before." Lyra remained silent, unwilling to admit that curiosity had grown into fascination. She continued to watch, noting how Rylan handled small conflicts, how he spoke to council staff with respect, and how he carried himself with steady confidence. When a minor emergency alert sounded, a freighter under attack near the outer rim, Lyra's attention sharpened. Many delegates froze, unsure how to react. Panic spread quietly across the chamber. Ryland stepped forward immediately. Calmly, he outlined a plan to protect the freighter and intercept the attackers. He considered limited resources, the speed of response, and the behavior of the pirates. His strategy was simple but brilliant, relying on intelligence, timing, and precise maneuvers rather than brute force. The council listened, some skeptical, some curious. Slowly, they began to follow his suggestions, coordinating fleets as he had instructed. The freighter was saved without casualties and the pirates captured efficiently. Lyra's eyes narrowed as she observed the operation. He had performed a feat she had expected only from the stories of legendary human warriors. Yet he had done it without spectacle, without arrogance, and without exaggeration. For the first time, Lyra felt the tiniest seed of doubt. Could it be true? Could humans, small and underestimated, actually possess the skill, strategy, and courage that had been dismissed as myth? She shook her head, trying to push the thought away. "Do not be distracted by a single incident," she muttered. "Legends are made over lifetimes, not in one clever act." Still, she could not ignore the quiet impression Ryland had made. He was more than capable. He had faced a real challenge and succeeded where many alien delegates might have failed. As the day ended, delegates departed and the chamber quieted. Lyra retreated to a balcony overlooking the city below, her mind racing. She thought of the calm determination in Ryland's eyes, the precision of his movements, and the effortless way he had commanded respect without demanding it. Vecca hovered beside her, chirping softly. "Commander, do you admit perhaps the legends are not entirely false?" Lyra remained silent, staring at the horizon. She could not bring herself to say it aloud, not yet. But a small part of her mind whispered a dangerous thought. Maybe humans were capable of far more than anyone had imagined. Maybe the legends contained a truth she had laughed at for centuries. The sun of Virelia dipped lower, casting long shadows across the city. Lyra knew that tomorrow she would have to observe Ryland again. She would have to test the limits of what he could do. And deep down, she could not deny the excitement building within her. For the first time, she began to wonder if she would witness a legend come to life. The simulation arena on Virelia was a massive structure, circular in design, with floating observation decks for delegates and officers. It was used to train soldiers and test their abilities in controlled but realistic scenarios. Today, it would serve a different purpose. Today, Commander Lyra would see for herself what a human warrior could do. Lyra arrived early, her sharp eyes scanning the arena from above. Around her, alien soldiers and council observers took their seats. Some were curious, others skeptical. Many whispered among themselves about the stories of human warriors. A few even seemed anxious. Vecca, ever attentive, perched on her shoulder. "Commander, are you sure this is necessary?" "Perhaps it will be." "Enlightening," Lyra smirked. "Enlightening or embarrassing, Vecca. We shall see which." The doors of the arena opened and a single human stepped through. Captain Ryland's posture was calm and confident. He did not look around in awe. He did not hesitate. Every movement was deliberate, every step precise. Lyra's curiosity was piqued, but she reminded herself of her purpose, to test the human, to see if he lived up to the legend, or to expose him as mere rumor. The first challenge was announced, a simulated duel against Virelia's finest warrior. A humanoid combatant named Coran, trained in multiple disciplines, skilled in both strategy and physical combat. Coran had defeated many opponents before, and his confidence was evident. He laughed lightly when he saw Ryland. "You? Alone?" Coran said. "I will not even break a sweat." Ryland simply nodded, silent, calm, waiting for the simulation to begin. The arena doors closed, and the holographic environment shifted into a realistic battlefield. Walls, platforms, and obstacles appeared, creating a complex landscape. Weapons appeared in the hands of both combatants. Energy blades, shields, and ranged projectiles designed to test reflexes and decision-making. Lyra watched intently from above. The arena was equipped with sensors that would record every movement, every choice, and every strategy. The results would leave no doubt about who was superior. The duel began. Coran lunged forward with speed and strength, attacking aggressively. Ryland did not move immediately. He observed, timing Coran's patterns, predicting his moves. Then with precise steps, he sidestepped the first attack, countering with a strike that was not aimed to harm, but to test reaction. Corrin's eyes widened in surprise. Humans were not supposed to move with such clarity or precision. Many in the audience gasped at the ease with which Rylan avoided attacks that would have taken most warriors by surprise. Lyra felt a flicker of doubt. She clenched her jaw. "Focus, Lyra, this is only a duel. Do not let appearances fool you." The duel continued, each strike and counterstrike pushing both warriors to their limits. Corrin was powerful, fast, and experienced, yet Rylan's style was different. He did not rely solely on strength. He used strategy, anticipation, and adaptability. Every move was calculated, exploiting weaknesses without unnecessary force. Rylan moved like water, flowing around obstacles, avoiding traps, and striking only when necessary. His calmness was unnerving. Corrin began to show signs of frustration, his attacks becoming more predictable as he struggled to keep up. Lyra leaned forward, unable to hide her fascination. He is unlike anything I imagined," Vecca chirped softly. "Commander, he is not just surviving, he is mastering." The duel reached a critical point. Corrin attempted a complex maneuver, using speed and strength to corner Rylan. Many in the arena expected him to be trapped. But Rylan reacted instantly, using the environment to his advantage. He climbed, rolled, and redirected Corrin's force with minimal effort, leaving the alien warrior off balance. With a swift, precise motion, Rylan disarmed Corrin, ending the simulation. The arena lights shifted to green, signaling the end of the duel. Corrin stared in disbelief. The audience erupted into murmurs of surprise and admiration. Even some of the skeptics could not hide their astonishment. Lyra stood silently, processing what she had just witnessed. One human, had outmaneuvered the finest warrior of Virelia, not with brute force but with intelligence, adaptability, and calm precision. She felt a mixture of awe and frustration. The legend she had mocked so easily was not entirely a myth. Rylan had proven that humans possessed skill beyond expectation. Yet she refused to admit it aloud. The council convened again after the duel. Delegates debated the results, some still hesitant to believe that a single human could be so capable. Others began to wonder about the potential of humanity in interstellar affairs. Lyra approached Rylan quietly, studying him from a distance. He moved with calm authority, interacting politely with delegates while never losing focus. She noticed how he observed every detail, how he anticipated reactions before they happened, and how he acted with quiet confidence. For the first time, Lyra considered that the stories might hold more truth than she had believed. Humans were not just survivors. They were warriors, thinkers, and leaders. They could face impossible odds and adapt, turning disadvantages into strength. Yet the day was far from over. A new challenge was approaching, a real test, not a simulation. Reports arrived of a security breach near the council chamber. A small group of saboteurs had infiltrated the area, attempting to disrupt proceedings. Lyra watched as panic rippled through the hall. Guards rushed to respond, unsure of the intruders' intentions. Many delegates froze, worried about their safety. Rylan, however, moved calmly. He assessed the situation instantly, identifying patterns in the intruders' movements. Without hesitation, he coordinated the guards, directing them to intercept the saboteurs while minimizing risk to civilians and delegates. The saboteurs were skilled, but Rylan's strategy was flawless. He predicted their tactics, anticipated their moves, and positioned the guards effectively. Within minutes, the threat was neutralized without harm. The hall erupted into relieved applause, and Lyra could not hide her astonishment. She realized that this was not just skill in combat. This was leadership, strategy, and calm under pressure, the very qualities that made humans legendary. Vecca tilted its head. "Commander, is it possible that the legends were true?" Lyra clenched her fists, unwilling to admit it aloud. "Perhaps," she said quietly. "Perhaps humans are capable of far more than anyone believed. But we must see more. Legends are proven only through consistent strength, not a single success." That evening, as the council sessions ended, Lyra found herself walking alongside Rylan again. She observed him quietly, noting how he moved through the council hall, always aware, always precise, always calm. When their eyes met briefly, Lyra felt a strange mixture of respect and challenge. He did not speak, but his gaze conveyed understanding. He had faced tests today, and he had proven capable without pride or exaggeration. Lyra knew one thing: the human legend was no longer distant. It had stepped into reality right before her eyes, and tomorrow she would seek further proof, challenging Rylan in ways that would reveal whether the stories she had laughed at for so long were indeed true. For the first time, she felt anticipation, not fear, but a thrill that came from knowing she would witness greatness firsthand. A human warrior had arrived on Veralia, and the galaxy would never see humans in the same way again. Lyra's laughter from weeks past seemed distant now. In its place was focus, determination, and a spark of excitement. The challenge was no longer a question of belief. It was a question of witnessing the truth. And deep inside she knew the legend she had mocked so easily was only the beginning. The calm of Verelia's council chamber was shattered the following morning. Alarms blared through the hall as emergency lights flashed red, reflecting off the polished floors and the panicked faces of delegates. A rival faction had launched a covert attack on the planet, hoping to catch the council unprepared. Commander Lyra's heart raced, though she kept her expression composed. For weeks she had doubted the stories of human warriors, but now, faced with real danger, she would finally see if the legends held any truth. Vecca perched nervously on her shoulder. "Commander, the situation is worse than any simulation. Are you certain humans can handle this?" Lyra shook her head, refusing to speak aloud what she feared might be true. "We will see." The attackers struck quickly, using small but powerful ships to evade planetary defenses. Their goal was clear: disrupt the council, capture or eliminate delegates, and sow chaos. Many Verelian officers were unprepared for such a coordinated assault, but Rylan did not panic. He stood at the center of the chamber, observing the patterns of attack, noting weak points in defense and calculating how best to respond. His calm presence immediately caught the attention of the delegates, who looked to him instinctively for direction. Lyra watched closely. The human moved through the chaos like a silent force of order. He communicated with officers efficiently, delegating tasks, coordinating defenses, and anticipating enemy movements. His strategy was not reckless. It did not rely on overwhelming force. Instead, he turned the attackers' own tactics against them. The first wave of enemy ships approached the planet's surface. Many expected destruction, but Rylan had already positioned planetary defenses strategically. The enemy ships were drawn into traps, disabled, and captured with minimal casualties. Lyra's eyes widened. She had doubted the human, but now she realized that his skill extended far beyond personal combat. He had the mind of a strategist, the foresight of a seasoned leader, and the courage to act decisively under extreme pressure. The attackers regrouped, determined to strike the council directly. Panic threatened to spread among the delegates. Some froze, unsure of where to hide or what to do, but Rylan moved among them calmly, guiding them to secure locations while maintaining focus on the larger battle. Lyra noticed the subtle way he inspired others. His confidence was not loud or arrogant. It was quiet, steady, and contagious. Officers followed his instructions without question. Civilians moved with purpose, and even skeptical delegates began to trust his decisions. Vecca whispered, "Commander, he is more than a warrior. He is extraordinary." Lyra's jaw tightened. She refused to admit it. "Do not let admiration cloud your judgment," she muttered. Yet she could not hide her growing respect. As the battle continued, Rylan identified the leader of the attackers, a cunning alien commander who had studied Verelia's defenses extensively. The enemy planned to disable the planet's shields and breach the council chamber simultaneously. Rylan immediately devised a plan to counter both threats. He split the planetary defense forces, sending one group to intercept the shield disruptors while leading a smaller elite team to the council chamber. His movements were precise, his commands clear, his focus unwavering. Lyra followed every decision, noting the human's ability to act calmly in the midst of chaos. In the council chamber, the elite team engaged the enemy saboteurs. The fight was swift and decisive. Rylan did not rely solely on brute strength. He used strategy, positioning, and quick thinking to neutralize threats efficiently. Each movement was calculated, each strike purposeful. Outside, the main fleet faced the attackers' ships. Ryland's instructions turned a chaotic battle into a coordinated defense. The enemy forces, expecting confusion, were met with precise tactics that left them disoriented. Ships were captured and several were forced to retreat. Lyra could hardly believe her eyes. The human she had once laughed at had orchestrated the defense of an entire planet. Every move was calculated, every decision correct. He was not only surviving the attack, he was controlling it, shaping the outcome. During a brief pause in the battle, Ryland surveyed the situation. He noticed a small group of enemy combatants attempting to escape through a hidden corridor leading to the Council's main chamber. Without hesitation, he acted. Moving with speed and precision, he intercepted them, neutralizing the threat before it could escalate. Lyra found herself holding her breath. This was no longer a test. This was real danger, and Ryland faced it with calm, focused determination. His actions were not reckless heroics. They were careful, intelligent, and devastatingly effective. As the last enemy ship retreated into the outer rim, the council chamber erupted into relieved applause. Delegates were shaken but safe. Officers looked at Ryland with awe. Even Lyra could not hide her astonishment. Vecca chirped softly, "Commander, I think we have witnessed the truth." Lyra's eyes narrowed. She refused to speak aloud, but deep inside she could not deny it any longer. The stories she had laughed at, the legends of human warriors facing impossible odds, were not exaggerations. They were accurate, though perhaps incomplete. Humans had skill, courage, intelligence, and adaptability, qualities that made them more dangerous and more admirable than any other species she had encountered. Ryland returned to the council chamber, his expression calm as ever. He spoke briefly to the delegates, offering reassurance and clear instructions for recovery. There was no pride in his words, only practicality and focus. Lyra observed him closely, noticing how he interacted with everyone. There was respect, yes, but also quiet authority. His presence seemed to inspire confidence even among those who had doubted him before. For the first time, Lyra felt a deep respect for a human. Not for their technology, not for their numbers, but for their mind, their courage, and their ability to lead under pressure. She realized that humans were capable of greatness in ways she had never imagined. As the council reconvened, Lyra approached Ryland, her expression unreadable. She studied him, noting the calm determination in his eyes, the clarity in his voice, and the quiet power he carried without effort. "You have done more than anyone could have expected," she said finally, her voice calm but tinged with admiration. Ryland inclined his head slightly. "I did what was necessary. The planet and its people had to be protected. That is all." Lyra hesitated, then spoke with a measure of honesty she rarely allowed herself. "I underestimated humans. Perhaps I was wrong to doubt your abilities so freely." Ryland's eyes met hers, steady and unwavering. "Doubt is natural. The important thing is to act when the moment arrives." Lyra felt a strange mix of emotions: respect, awe, and a spark of something she could not name, a realization that humans, though often underestimated, were capable of shaping the future of the galaxy in ways no one could predict. As the council adjourned for the day, Lyra stood on a balcony overlooking Virelia. The city below was safe, the threat neutralized, and the legends she had mocked so confidently had proven to contain truth. Vecca chirped softly. "Commander, do you now believe?" Lyra's eyes remained fixed on the horizon. She did not answer immediately. Instead, she allowed herself a moment to reflect. Humans were more than stories. They were warriors, leaders, and thinkers. They faced danger with courage and intelligence, and they inspired others to rise to their best. Finally, she spoke quietly but firmly. "Yes, Vecca, humans are capable of far more than I imagined, and this is only the beginning." Lyra turned away from the balcony, her mind racing with possibilities. The human legend was no longer a distant tale. It had arrived in the flesh in the form of a calm, precise warrior who had changed the fate of a planet with intellect, courage, and skill. She knew one thing for certain: the galaxy would never underestimate humans again. And she, for the first time, could not wait to see what they would do next. The aftermath of the attack left Virelia in a cautious calm. Delegates moved quietly through the halls, still processing what had occurred. Ships repaired minor damages, officers conducted debriefings, and citizens whispered about the human warrior who had saved the council and the planet. with courage and precision. Commander Lyra stood on the observation deck above the city, her gaze focused on the horizon. The events of the past day replayed in her mind, the calm authority of Captain Rylan, his strategic brilliance, and his ability to inspire confidence in others. She had doubted humans for so long, laughed at their supposed legendary skills, and yet now she could not deny the truth. Vecca fluttered beside her, chirping softly. "Commander, he is remarkable. Do you feel respect?" Lyra's eyes did not leave the horizon. "Respect does not capture it. Humans, they are something more, something I cannot define easily. They are capable of greatness that we have underestimated for centuries." Rylan entered the observation deck quietly, his calm presence filling the room. He did not announce himself, did not demand attention. He simply stood beside Lyra, looking out at the city below. "You are quiet," he said softly, breaking the silence. "Processing, I imagine." Lyra turned her eyes toward him, studying the human who had defied every expectation. His expression was calm, confident, yet approachable. His eyes, sharp and steady, seemed to see more than most. In that gaze, she felt something that was difficult to describe, understanding, courage, and a challenge all at once. "I am processing," she admitted finally. "You have proven more than any legend or story could describe. Today I realize the truth of what I once laughed at." Rylan inclined his head slightly, a hint of acknowledgement in his calm demeanor. Legends often contain a kernel of truth. Actions reveal more than words. Today was not about proving stories. It was about protecting lives and ensuring order. Lyra's mind raced. She had always thought humans were clever, yes, but she had never imagined the combination of intelligence, courage, and calm focus they could possess. Rylan had demonstrated leadership, strategy, and courage beyond anything she had seen from even the most seasoned alien commanders. "Your actions. They have changed how the Council and this planet will view humans," Lyra said, "not just as soldiers, but as capable, strategic, and courageous beings. Perhaps as leaders of their own destiny." Rylan's gaze met hers fully now. There was no pride, no arrogance, only quiet confidence and clarity. Humans have always adapted, learned, and survived. We face challenges and make choices that others might not understand. The question is not whether we are capable, but whether we are willing to act when it matters. Lyra's heart beat faster, a strange mixture of admiration and awe washing over her. She realized that the story she had laughed at was not only true, it had only begun to reveal its meaning. Humans were not just legends. They were a force to be reckoned with, capable of shaping the galaxy in ways no other species could. As they spoke, reports came in of the last enemy ships retreating into deep space. The immediate threat had ended, but the galaxy would remember today. Stories would spread, and humans would no longer be dismissed or underestimated. Lyra turned back to the city below. She thought of the citizens, the delegates, and the officers who had witnessed Rylan's actions. Many would tell stories for generations about the human who had faced impossible odds calmly and decisively. She realized that she had been part of something historic, a moment when humans proved their strength not through legend alone, but through action. Vecca chirped again, breaking her reverie. "Commander, what will you do now?" Lyra thought carefully. For centuries, she had relied on strategy, logic, and experience to guide her decisions. Yet now, standing beside a human warrior who had surpassed every expectation, she felt a new determination. "We will ensure that humans are recognized for what they are," she said firmly, "not just in stories or records, but in reality. Their skill, courage, and intelligence must be respected. And perhaps we will learn from them too." Rylan nodded slightly. "Recognition is not always necessary. Action and integrity carry more weight than titles or praise. But respect, yes, it is earned through deeds, and today many have seen what humans can do." Lyra's eyes met his again. She felt a deep respect, but also something more, a realization that humans could inspire not just through stories, but through their presence and actions. In that gaze, she saw a reflection of courage, calm focus, and determination that she had rarely encountered. For the first time, Lyra laughed, not out of doubt or skepticism, but quietly, softly, in awe. The legend she had mocked had walked into her life, looked her in the eye, and shown her the truth. "You are extraordinary," she admitted, her voice steady but filled with meaning. Not because of myth, not because of luck, but because of who you are. Humans. They are capable of greatness beyond imagination. Rylan smiled faintly, a gesture that was rare but genuine. Humans are only as extraordinary as the choices we make. Today we made the right ones. The moment between them was quiet, yet charged with understanding. Lyra felt a shift within herself. The galaxy would never underestimate humans again, and she would ensure that their capabilities were recognized, respected, and when needed, followed. As the day ended, Lyra and Rylan walked together through the council halls, observing the repairs and the calm returning to the planet. Delegates offered nods of respect, officers reported smoothly, and citizens whispered in awe. The human legend had become reality before their eyes. Lyra realized that this was more than a story. It was a beginning. Humans would no longer be underestimated. They had proven that courage, intelligence, and adaptability could triumph against impossible odds. And in Rylan, she had witnessed a living example of everything humans could achieve. When they reached the balcony overlooking the city, Lyra paused. The sun dipped low, casting warm light across the skyline. The city was safe, the council restored, and the galaxy had seen the power of human potential. "You have changed many minds today," she said quietly. "Mine most of all." Rylan's eyes met hers. "Change is natural when truth is revealed. Humans have always been underestimated. Today the truth was seen. Tomorrow we will continue to act with purpose and courage." Lyra nodded, a smile forming on her face. For the first time she felt the thrill of witnessing history, of seeing a legend not in storybooks but in living action. The galaxy would remember today. The galaxy would respect humans, and she would ensure that their abilities were never dismissed again. Vecca chirped from her shoulder, clearly excited. "Commander, the human legend." "It is real." Lyra looked at Rylan, her expression a mixture of admiration and respect. "Yes, Vecca, the legend is real, and it is only beginning. Humanity has walked into the galaxy, and now the world must see what it can achieve." Rylan's calm eyes met hers one last time before he turned to the horizon, where distant stars awaited. Lyra understood then that humans were more than capable of meeting challenges, shaping the future and inspiring others. Their courage, intelligence, and skill would carry them far. For Lyra, the laughter of doubt had been replaced by awe. She had seen the legend, witnessed it in living action, and understood it fully. Humanity's story was no longer a myth, it was reality. And as the stars of Viralia twinkled above them, Lyra knew that the galaxy would never underestimate humans again.